Hi there, welcome to number 3 of the 7 steps to a healthy lifestyle. So we've talked about number 1, which is about getting real with looking at what is not giving you that healthy lifestyle and really listening to your body and listening to what's really going on. The second was about balance, about looking at all the aspects of your life and finding that part of your life or those parts of your life that actually are not so great and doing something about them. So now we're going to talk about your thinking, your mind, and what your thoughts are around why those parts of your life aren't being addressed, or that part of your body that is not being addressed. What's really going on in your head? I believe that the mind is very, very, very powerful. Not only in the aspect of how clever you can be or how much information you can retain, but actually your mind has the power to make you ill and to make you better. Never underestimate the power of the mind. Just think about an incident in your childhood where you didn't want to go to school and you told your mummy that you had a headache and, "Oh, mummy, I don't want to go to school because I've got a terrible, terrible headache." So mummy says, there, don't worry. And you get your way. And what happens through the day? You actually develop a headache. It's the mind creating this. I know when there's been times I didn't want to go to work, I used to think up of excuses and say that, well, I'll go and tell them that I'm not feeling very well and I've got a cold or something. And even just that building up in my head would give me a cold. And I used to think this is just a coincidence, but I've heard other people say this to me too. It's like, never wish anything because you will surely get it. The mind creates these within you. So looking from that aspect is when you identify and look at what it is you're thinking behind something, or what thoughts come up when, say someone says to you, for example, the worst case scenario of you go to the doctor, you've been hanging on to this problem, and the doctor says to you, we've taken the test, we've had, looked deeply into this, and we think that you have cancer. Immediately there is a response and a thought behind this of, oh my God, I'm gonna die, what does this mean, etc., etc. And in that instant, everything gets accelerated. Where you were feeling okay, you weren't 100%, but you were okay. Suddenly you begin to feel very, very sick. And this is where the body then starts to follow the mind. When the mind says, oh no, the body goes, oh no. So what I'd like you to do now is to look at your thinking about different aspects of your life. So we identified certain areas in the last video about balance, looking at those parts of your life that are not working so well. So say, for example, it's money. What I'd like you to do is really have a good look at your thoughts around money. Not only your thoughts, but what are your family's thoughts about money? How do you relate to money? What does money mean to you? I know for a lot of people, they say, well, if you're not well off, if you have an issue around money, you may have a problem around money where you think that people with money are not very nice people because of your experience of rich people. And so there's a part of you that is fighting against having the money, even though you know you need more money. There is your thinking around money is not so great. It could be that your thinking around money is that it's never going to come to you because it's hard to make a lot of money. And guess what? It does become hard to get more money. And that is a lot to do with how you think about money. So what I'd like you to do is to look at those parts of your life that you identified in the last video, those parts of your life that you feel aren't working. So if you're having relationship problems, say you can't find a partner and you've been single for a long time, I want you to really start to look at what your thinking is around that problem. So what is it about relationships? What is your thinking around relationships? It could be I'm not very good at them. It could be that, they never work. It could be that I'm never going to have those wonderful relationships that I read about. What is really your thinking around it? And know that your body and your life will always follow your thinking. There is a lot of talk now about the book The Secret. I don't know if you've read it or you've seen the video, but the essence of it is that we can create whatever we want in life by just manifesting it through thought. It talks a lot about the power of thought. So, if that was the case, why aren't we all driving Rolls Royces and living in mansions and having an abundance of money, having wonderful relationships, having an ideal life? We constantly think about that. But what actually I'd like you to think about is not what you want to have, but what your thinking is around that. Because I might want that perfect relationship. And if my background thinking, my subconscious thinking, is about, well, actually, that's never going to happen. But I'd love to have one. I could imagine myself with a strong man, a loving, caring person in my life. But if my subconscious conversation is that that's never going to happen because those men don't exist, etc., etc., guess what? It's not going to happen. So it's not so much thinking positive and having powerful thoughts. It's about really looking at the thinking that goes on subconsciously, that automatic reactional thought that we have. And then we can do something about those. Because there is a very powerful woman called Byron Katie, who does a lot of work around thought. She talks about how thoughts are very, actually not personal, but it is when you begin to believe those thoughts is when things begin to happen in your life. If you believe that you're going to get sick, you will. If you believe that there is going to be no love in your life, that's how your life looks because of the belief in those thoughts. So it's about really identifying your thinking. So take those aspects of your life which we looked in the last video, say around health. So what I'd like you to do, if you're someone that is maybe having a weight issue, for example, and you're eating the right food, you're going to Weight Watchers, you're doing all the exercise, and the pounds are just not coming off. What I would like you to really have a look at is your thinking around weight. You're thinking around why this weight should hang around. I did a workshop with a few women who were all on diets, all very intelligent women, taking control of what they put in their mouth, did exercise. And I realized that some women, when we looked at the thoughts around why this weight should be there, some women said it was a protection, so that they didn't have to show themselves in the world. They didn't have to be responsible. So it hid them. This big blob of fat actually kept them away from the world. Somebody else said, when I'm upset, when I don't believe in myself, I tend to eat more. Another woman said that her weight issue actually kept her from being powerful. She knew that she was able to do a lot more in her life, but her weight almost became an excuse of her forging ahead, taking up better jobs, because that would mean exposure, that would mean standing in front of people. And she was scared of that. So there was an image that she was stuck in, because on a mental level, her thinking was she wasn't good enough to do the next best thing. And so we had to tackle that before this weight began to shed, and it did for most of them. So, folks, look at your thinking around those parts of your life that don't work.